Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. I know it's been a while. Thank you, first of all, to all of you guys who have been subscribing to the page. That's really neat, and I appreciate all of the helpful feedback, and also your comments of support that you guys are enjoying what I have to say, and that it's helping out with your own students or helping you guys out personally. So, thank you very much. And I know that it's been a while. I've been meaning to get back to uh, the classes as soon as possible. But things have been ridiculously busy with moving and into a permanent residence and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, but I want to get started where I left off, which was at the bowing technique. So I encourage you to watch that video again if it's been a while, and then go ahead and hop into this one, because all of the stuff that I had to say about your bowing technique and your hand position and your arm position and all that kind of stuff always goes into play when you're working with articulations. So the first articulation that I want to work with is the détaché, okay? And actually, before I get into that, any articulation goes across any genre of music, okay? Any type of music. They may have different names possibly across genres, but the violin is the violin. And you play the violin, there's going to be some natural bow strokes that are there that help you to speak what's actually written or what's passed down, okay? Or to help you interpret, I guess, the actual notes of the music, okay? So these are the natural bowings that just occur on the violin, not for any specific genre of music, okay? So the détaché stroke, it's just a detached stroke, all right? It's your normal everyday stroke, the first stroke that you learn, okay? Up, down. Okay, or like in the first song. Okay, there's no effort to over connect the notes or really kind of pull them together, and then there's no over effort in like separating into tiny little bits. Okay, it's just your regular stroke, and that's it. Okay, you can hear the up and the down. Okay, there's no point in overdoing that one. Okay, so then the next one, legato. Okay, the legato stroke. This is the one that we connect and we really milk it. And a lot of times the tempo is what's going to judge for a legato stroke. Because in this tune, right, lleno grande, those notes are a little bit too quick to really judge the difference between I'm over trying to connect them or just the regular détaché. Okay, it's a little too quick. But in the next section, when the notes slow themselves down, okay, you can definitely hear the connection, and the vibrato of the left hand helps to kind of blend each direction of the bow. Okay, so that's what you want to consider. That stroke. You just kind of want to soften up the as opposed to the regular détaché. Okay, you can hear a difference there. And then that has to do with your fingers. Remember what I was talking about in the bow. All right? Good. And that's the legato. Simple. Okay, the next bowing is staccato. Okay, and the staccato is basically the antithesis of the legato. Okay, so it's exactly the opposite. Instead of going overboard and trying to connect, okay, we want to go overboard the other way and try and really disconnect and mark those notes. Okay, and sometimes when you start getting into this business, you almost think of like, well, maybe it's an accent or whatnot. It's just, it kind of depends on where it fits in between all the actual notes that are there. Okay, so if all the notes are sounding the same, well then none of them are accented. or marcato. Okay, but yet you're kind of accenting every single one if you're doing staccato. So it's just there's always room for play there. But the main thing is that you hear the difference, because that can really add some musical colors. Okay, so we see it a lot in huapangos. Okay, so we have staccato, right? Okay, everything short, spaced in between the notes, dots above the notes, right? Okay, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't put vibrato on it. You can hear it. Okay, now you have the contrast into a legato section, right? Which just opens up the entire piece, right? And then, okay, then maybe that would be a marcato, right? And then you have more legato. Okay, so when you see it all together, then you have an entire section of music that just brings you close and then shoots you back, and then brings you close, tension and release, right? Right? Okay, so staccato. Okay, Spicato stroke is the bounce stroke. We use this in mariachi now and again, quite more often than we think, but a lot of times it's harder to spot or harder to play because usually it's just kind of thrown in the middle of a line somewhere where there's just a little part of spiccato and then boom, we move on to something else, and that was coming from something else different entirely, but it's just meant for just a certain funness or just to give that section of the song a different color in the phrasing. Example. Okay, so the spiccato was right there in the middle, right? And then we end with a détaché, okay? And of course it was coming from this whole other madness, right, of slurs and détaché bowings. So a lot of times we just kind of overlook it and we just kind of just get through the fastness and just move on, okay? But we should really try and implement the spiccato. Okay, so how do you start if you're not comfortable with spiccato, okay, is of course very slow and with a metronome, okay? But just for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to use a metronome now because I didn't have it ready for the video, but regardless, practice it with the metronome, okay? But I'm just going to go quickly through your steps, okay? So if you're not comfortable, first start just with a vertical drop onto the violin. Okay, let the bow bounce as many times as it's going to bounce. Then stop after just one bounce. Okay, once you get comfortable with that, start pulling in a direction. So we're going to start with down. Okay, and now that just millisecond of vertical motion and horizontal motion together creates your short sound. Now go up and work on not hitting any other strings. Okay, then go down and up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Now go down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. Or you can try it, especially with the metronome, you can do even rhythms, triplets, down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, 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 and so forth. Do it on all the strings because they're going to feel different. Okay, and that's it. That's the spiccato. But that's where you can apply it. Okay. All right, everybody. This is the last articulation, which is the ricochet. Very popular, and probably one of the most exciting articulations that we have in mariachi. But the thing to keep in mind is it's not just the mariachi articulation. I mean, it's used a lot in orchestral music. So keeping that in mind, we have this idea in the mariachi world that it's just kind of one of those cool things that you see on stage and it looks really awesome and it's like the coolest thing ever. And the thing is that so we start learning that as young violinists, and then we just don't learn how to control it whatsoever. So this is going to be my attempt to teaching you at least on how to control it. When it's uncontrolled, you're not even thinking about any type of meter. It's just whatever. Okay? And then we're also not thinking about if we're hearing notes or if we're getting more crunch. Okay? And that means you're coming down too hard and choking it too much. Okay? Without giving the right amount of bow with pull. Okay? Because for however much you hit, you got to come up with an equal displacement of either direction going up or direction going down. Okay? But the other thing that we don't think about is timing it out. Remember, the music is metered. Okay? So a timing of 3 or 4 is always going to be kind of nice, especially when you have a section. Okay? And if the section is can at least have the idea or the goal of doing 3 in a certain spot or 4 in a certain spot, that's going to be nicer of a nicer performance of it, because it's going to sound cleaner. It's going to be able to be heard more, as opposed to just like this sloppy mess of like whoa whoa whoa, and not only that, but it keeps your mind focused on what you're doing as a musician, as opposed to just leaving the audience out of it and showing off or whatever. Okay? And so you'll be thinking about that, but then you'll also be able to hear your sound, and you'll be able to hear your intonation. Okay? Because a lot of times we do it in chords too, right? And because a lot of when we're going down so hard, you can make yourself out of tune. Okay? By putting too much pressure on the strings and not enough pull. Also, okay, and that's gonna make your strings sound kind of out of tune. Okay, you hear those? You get all those weird vibrations. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. But the way to start, just pull down. Very similar to the Spicato, very similar. But start pulling down right away, and just let it bounce as many times. Just get used to it. Each string is gonna feel different. And then also do double stops, because the majority of the time we're playing it with chords, right? Once you get used to that, then start timing. So just 1. And you can go up too. Okay? Just keep that in mind. I'm just going to do down for now, but just 1. And then try 2. Then 3. 4. Okay, and every bow and instrument is going to have their combination for the sweet spot on the bow, so just try and learn it. And then so when you get 6 people doing this, then you have a clearer idea of what's going on. The notes ring out more, it sounds fuller, and it sounds more rhythmic. Okay, because again, it's a rhythmic articulation. Not only that, you're not going to pop hairs. Okay. And popping hairs is really just a sign of either of a couple things: improper technique, or you need to get your bow re-haired because you've already broken too many hairs. All right, so that's the ricochet section. I hope that helped. It's one of those things that you wanna. It's not something that we use a lot, so I mean, it's unless you dedicate like every day to practicing your ricochet section or your ricochet. It's not something that you can, I mean, just as a mariachi, I mean, there's so many things to concentrate on, repertoire and other technique stuff. But that's why if you can at least get close to setting a goal for yourself to at least get it somewhat under control amongst yourself, and then of course amongst your section, those sections of your music will come out as not only impressive but more musical. All right, guys. So I'll be with you in a little bit for the conclusion. All right. Okay, guys. Thank you for sticking around for the whole class. And the articulations that we covered in this class were détaché, legato, staccato, spicato, and ricochet. And I encourage you to use these and try using these in different parts of your pieces and different songs as a group. I can't think of a song off the top of my head that would only use just one all the way through. So really think about each section of the song and where you think the articulation should change. And and it might be different over time. Different parts can be interpreted in many different ways, and one group might do it one way and one group might do it another way, or the same group can change it over time depending on how they feel musically. They tend to like hearing it and like interpreting it. For instance, I've played Jesucita many different ways, but this is a kind of a neat example. Is obviously after the pizzicato part, which is another type of articulation. It's not really a bowing, but your thumb goes here on the fingerboard. Okay, so that's the song, right? Jesucita, so you guys can recognize it. But the section. Okay, that was the same section, but on the repeat of it, we changed the articulations, and it sounds kind of neat, right? We went from a détaché section, or maybe could do a staccato, I guess, at the beginning, and then into a détaché, and then the second part was definitely legato, right? Da, da, da. So, and it's the same part, all right? So you could do it all one way, you could do it all the second way, or you could change it in the middle, and it's the same section of the song. And then, of course, there's other parts of the song that kind of just call for a certain... Right? Okay, so that probably more than likely would just be legato. Right? Okay, imagine it going another way. Right? Okay, I don't think so. It didn't even come natural to my fingers that way. So, but it's, so there are going to be certain parts of a song that just kind of lend themselves to certain bowings, and some that can be, moved around. So anyway, but that's that on the bowings. So hopefully this articulation video helped, and give me any comments, questions, concerns, and whatever else that you might have to say. And I haven't decided quite yet what my next one's going to be on, but it'll be something interesting, hopefully. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you later.